The following video is a brief overview of the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy and what students are asked to do at each of the levels. You'll be given a short explanation of the ideas behind the terms and some suggestions for activities to demonstrate how you can use Bloom's in your classroom. Bloom's taxonomy is an educational framework instructors can use to help students move back and forth between lower order thinking and higher order thinking, as well as help students increase their critical thinking skills. Well-designed courses and instructional activities move students back and forth among the different levels to provide the scaffolding necessary for students to achieve the higher order thinking skills necessary to become effective and critical thinkers. Bloom's taxonomy is comprised of 6 levels: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Each level of the taxonomy is designed to help students achieve different educational goals. As you move through this overview, you'll develop an understanding of what each level is intended to help students demonstrate and what you can do to help them achieve these goals. The first level is remembering. If you think back to the various images you've seen of the taxonomy as a chart or a pyramid, you'll remember seeing remembering is the base of the pyramid upon which all the other levels rest. If students are unable to remember the basic conceptual information, they'll have a difficult time moving up to the higher order thinking skills all students should achieve by the end of their coursework. At this level, students are asked to retrieve static information from their long-term memories. This type of information includes things like definitions, formulas, and the names of specific elements like body parts, chemicals, or anything of that sort. Students should be able to recall the foundational information they need to learn more challenging concepts that come later in the course. Some activities you can use at the remembering level include asking students to label the parts of a diagram, contributing definitions to a class-wide glossary, outlining that week's learning, or fill-in-the-blank type activities. Short, objective quizzes testing student knowledge are also appropriate at this level. The next level is understanding. At this level, students should be able to demonstrate their grasp of the course content. They should be able to follow instructions, whether written, oral, or graphical, in pursuit of completing an activity. It's at this point students begin constructing their own meaning for the content being learned. It's important to remember students functioning at this level will still face challenges related to the content. However, they should begin making the transition from dependent learners who need their instructor to walk them through everything to independent learners who take the knowledge they have and begin working on their own. At this level, it's appropriate for students to be able to distinguish between primary concepts. For example, students in an English class should be able to understand the differences between an internal and external conflict and explain those differences. Another opportunity would be for students to paraphrase the learning. This type of activity requires students to use their own words to show they have grasped the primary concepts and are able to articulate them on their own. Students then make the move to applying their learning. At this level, students are asked to provide concrete proof they have developed an understanding of course concepts by putting their learning into practice. No longer are they simply reading, memorizing, and explaining. Now, students are being asked to demonstrate competence. Application can happen in several ways. In a math class, students can be given a set of problems to complete. They should show their work so the instructor can see they understand the requisite steps necessary to achieve a solution. In an art class, students who have studied a concept like perspective can create a drawing in which they employ the concept. In the application phase, instructors are able to provide specific feedback on how well students are employing the information they learned in the remembering and understanding phases of their learning. Whether it's through a specific type of assignment students submit to their instructor, or through discussion boards where they respond to a prompt, students who apply their knowledge will give you some sort of deliverable artifact you can use to evaluate their learning and level of understanding, and provide intervention as necessary. Analyzing is a more complicated process. Students who are challenged to analyze something are now required to employ skills from all the previous levels. In order to analyze, students must break something complex into its essential components. If they remember and understand their previous coursework, they will be able to apply that learning to their analysis. Students who analyze are asked to make connections between the individual components and the overall concepts being studied. As they work through their analysis, they will need to provide specific and relevant support to demonstrate their overall comprehension of the concepts. If you provide a case study, for example, and ask students to provide an analysis of the situation, students should be able to identify key elements of the scenario, identify the steps to be taken in addressing the situation, and explain why they have chosen those steps. This type of activity demonstrates the student's understanding of course concepts and allows them an opportunity to apply their knowledge to a real-world situation. Evaluating is one of the most challenging levels for students. At this point, students are asked to make value-based judgments related to the course content. Students must have a clear understanding of what they've learned, the desired outcomes, and what the evaluation criteria are intended to demonstrate. Many students struggle with this level of learning because they don't feel qualified or secure in their ability to adequately judge a situation. However, if the learning has been properly scaffolded throughout the course, the evaluation process is easier. Asking students to critique a situation or a text of some sort can be challenging. It is essential for you, as the instructor, to make your expectations clear to the students. Help them understand why they are performing the evaluation. What's the benefit to them? How will this skill help them as they move forward in their education and, eventually, into the workplace? One opportunity you can present to your students is to ask them to critique an event from the recent past. Asking students in a criminal justice course to evaluate the response of the police force to a riot, for example, will afford students the opportunity to employ all their learning and make it relevant to them. Be sure that when you present the situation, you outline your expectations. What are you asking them to evaluate in this particular situation? Why are you asking them to evaluate this situation? What do you want them to demonstrate and achieve through this process? Students who understand what's expected will have a greater chance to succeed. Creating can be one of the most exciting levels for students. Many students we encounter today are what we call digital natives. They work with the internet on a daily basis, use their cell phones to surf the web, and carry tablets in their bags. They like to be active on the web, and many find the opportunity to produce a product like they see every day very exciting. At this stage, students are taking what they've learned and creating a final product to be shared with you and possibly others. The goal of any created product is for it to be seen. So it's important for students to see the value in crafting something both coherent and functional. At this stage, it's also essential students are given clear guidelines and expectations in order to achieve success. Creation can take many forms. Some assignments lend themselves to research papers, while others present opportunities to immerse students in real-world scenarios where they can demonstrate specific career-related skills like creating a ledger balance or a psychological evaluation. Whatever form the final product of the creating level is, make a point to help students understand the relevance of what they are doing, both academically and professionally. Now that we've reviewed the 6 levels of the revised Bloom's Taxonomy, it's time for you to think about the ways in which you can implement this learning into your courses. As you build your class and design your activities, remember to focus on reaching a rigor level appropriate for the course. Your class should address all levels of Bloom's, but lower level courses will spend more time focusing on the lower order thinking and less time on higher order thinking. Whereas in your higher level courses, students will spend less time at the lower levels and significantly more time at the higher levels. It's also important to scaffold your activities appropriately. Students may struggle if they are presented with a new task and lack basic foundational knowledge. Build your activities with student success in mind and equip them with the tools they will need to be successful. Foster critical thinking, but help your students understand the basics so they can move to the abstract.